Hi there. We're going to use our tune-up balls, and this is a second way of getting into your glutes to help release them. We have another video showing you how to release them laying flat on your back. For this one, we're going to stay up in an upright position. You have two choices. You can focus on doing them one side at a time, and for that you might take them out of the tote, but kind of put them in the meat of the muscle and work one whole side and then the other, and just by repeating the video. Or for today's sake, we're going to separate them. A couple quick important landmarks to go over. When we're rolling, we have this little bone called the sacrum at the back of the pelvis that bleeds into, creates the tailbone at the back of it. We want to make sure that we are not pushing on that tailbone. We want to stick to these meaty parts, and we're going to slowly roll through here mostly today, maybe even coming down a little lower. So you're welcome to do it one side at a time with both balls. I'm going to teach one ball on each side. It's also a nice way to get into the glutes at the same time. So I'm reaching in, I'm going to put them pretty close to that sacrum bone, so they are definitely closer to the center of my pelvis. I want to kind of imagine that they're in the same vertical playing field. I have my hands underneath me, behind me. I've got my feet flat on the floor here, and we're just going to take the first minute or so to sink in, try to relax the legs. I might even let my knees knock together a little bit to reduce the effort in my legs. And I'm just going to take a moment and hang out. Always important when we're sitting up like this, a little more depth, a little more pressure. So we want to have this few moments of static contact to help signal to our nervous system that this is not a threat, that even with increased sensation, we don't need to be alarmed, we don't need to spike our cortisol, that this is intentional. And so we want to kind of get in there. Now, if you have sensitive wrists, if you find that your wrists are aching, or you're starting to get a little bit of numbness or tingling in the hands, you can also come down onto elbows. Or I will sometimes do this leaning, sitting on the floor in front of my couch, leaning back on like where your seat goes of your couch. So you decide, hands down, hands up. It might change your experience of the stretch, shouldn't be too much. And from where we are, we're just going to bring the smallest of movements into our pelvis. So I want you to think about pulling your pubic bone back towards your ribs, like you're trying to zip the front of the body together. So there's a small roll over the ball. And then let's push back to neutral, tailbone's reaching down to the floor beneath you. And then trying to open that space. So you're almost rolling off the ball here. Back to neutral, feeling the weight start to load into that ball. And then pubic bone comes towards ribs. Back to neutral space. Going the other way, pubic bone and ribs come apart. Back to neutral. Bringing pubic bone and hips together. Good, come back to neutral. So from here, we're going to start to add a little bit of movement. So you have to push into your feet, lifting up a little bit. So my arms are taking a little bit of the weight, and I'm just going to push through my feet so that I can roll over the balls until they get about to that really pointy, bony part of my bum. And then I'm going to roll back. Notice how slow the roll is, pushing into my feet, letting the balls drag down my glutes, coming towards that bony ischial tuberosity, that bony prominence at the bottom of the pelvis, and coming back up to the ceiling, rolling back up the back of the pelvis, pushing into my feet one more time, rolling down the glutes, Finding those bony spots. Come forward just slightly and land down. Find that new landing spot for our glutes. And while we're here, let's heel toe our feet a little bit closer together. And then let our knees in slow motion start to drop open. Noticing how that feels through the legs. Let's hang out with the knees open for a moment. You can stay up on your hands. I'm gonna go down on 2 elbows because my fingers are going numb. And then from here, in slow-mo again, closing the knees back up towards the ceiling. And we're just gonna repeat this motion, really slow motion windshield wipers, like you could move frame by frame. You might notice as we're moving the muscle over the tune-up balls, some areas might kind of spark some feedback. Pay attention to that, and you really want to fight the urge to rush through it. Knees coming together. You want to notice those moments and intentionally even slow down the tiniest bit more. Once the knees come together, opening again. Noticing those sticky spots along the way, seeing if you can keep the muscles of the glutes soft. Good, knees coming back up into the center. Feet plant flat on the floor. Let's take our right foot, cross it over the left knee, pushing the knee away. So coming into a little bit of a glute stretch. And I've still got my tune-up balls pinned in the meat, in the main part of the muscle. Then I'm just gonna slowly intensify that stretch over to the left, letting both legs tilt. So I'm coming out of the stretch a little bit on my bent leg and leaning more into my bottom leg, pushing that glute in a bit more. Coming back into the center, really slow, controlled movement. Then I'm going to tilt the other way. So this is going to intensify that pressure in the right leg, and you can see my hip is lifting off slightly down on this side here. Coming back to the center. Switching sides. Go slowly as you reset your foot. Left leg coming over. Let's come into the stretch just to start. Notice that shift left to right. Notice what you feel left to right glute. And we'll start by leaning over towards the right with my foot on the floor. It's going to intensify the stretch on that side. Lifting off this side here, slightly less pressure. Coming back in through the middle. And then I'm going to lean over to the left. It was kind of like a lemon squeezer, just pushing weight into that tune-up ball with this muscle in a position of length. Slow-mo back up to the center. Plant both your feet down. All right. Come all the way up off your tune-up balls. And we're going to